Millions of students across Wales and England are also returning to the classroom, many of them for the first time since March. Despite concerns from parents and teaching unions, the government has made it compulsory. Ollie Barrett has more from London. He joins us now for the latest. Ollie, what precautions are schools taking to prevent COVID-19 transmission, and do they satisfy the concerns of teachers and parents?
Well, certainly the polling suggests that most parents are keen to get their kids back to school, but the polling also shows that there is concern amongst many parents about exactly how all of this will play out. There are going to be much more robust cleaning arrangements in place for schools. They're going to be giving a very firm message to pupils to be washing their hands more often. Classrooms will be arranged where possible with desks facing forwards rather than towards each other in little pods. Bubbles will be used in terms of groups of children to try and therefore lower the amount that groups of children are mixing with other groups on school premises, and staff as well. Pupils that they don't directly teach or need to come into contact with, they're going to be trying to stay apart from those children too. No compulsory face coverings or masks unless you are an older child in a school which is in a part of the country that is currently under local lockdown restrictions. So the vast majority of teachers and pupils will not be wearing face coverings in English and Welsh schools. The guidance, by the way, on the government's own website says that while all these precautions are being taken, it is not possible to ensure a totally risk-free environment, but they do believe that returning to school is safe with the guidance that is being given to schools.
Ollie, there are still voices that say that it is dangerous to send those kids back to school, but the Prime Minister has called it economically unsustainable. He says it's morally indefensible, in fact, to keep those schools shut for any longer. Tell us what he means in plain language. The Prime Minister believes that it is entirely right that children going back to school should be the national priority. He says, and he's backed up by the scientists that advise the government as well, that children are much more at risk of harm by not being in school for a prolonged period of time than they are by now heading back to school. The scientists talk about lower life chances and lower development for children who miss long periods of school. The scientists also say that there is really very little evidence that children are going to be badly affected by the virus, even if they do catch COVID-19 at school or outside school. So what that means is, in terms of priorities for the UK now, when you have pubs and restaurants and bars open at the moment, if we are going to see further outbreaks across the country, then effectively the Prime Minister is saying we would keep schools open and look for other ways to start closing things down again to try and slow the spread of the virus. So pubs would shut before schools did.
Ollie, this appears to be the Education Department's first real test since the exam grading fiasco. Does it seem like they're up to the task?
We won't know for a few days yet, Steve, and that's because while many schools are going back today, it's really over the next week or so that schools go back. It's a staggered start, really, in terms of the first day back at school for pupils. So give it a week or so and we'll get a good sense of how many pupils have gone back, whether we start to see any local outbreaks in or as a result of schools going back as well. One other issue, you mentioned the exam results fiasco. Well, the government is already now looking at exams for next summer and whether they will have to be delayed because of the truncated school term this time around, but also because of the catch-up that's going to have to go on from students in terms of what they missed last school year as well. So lots for the Education Department to be thinking about at the moment, and you're quite right, it's been a difficult summer for them. They will want this to go smoothly.
Seemingly no end to this disruption. Ollie, thank you very much for that. Always good to talk to you. Ollie Barrett there in London.